Many salutations, I am Tatsumari. Some of you may have questions about the elements in the story Arcane, and while I can't speak for the story direction itself, I can talk about what inspired these elements from the game MapleStory. Welcome to the Arcane explanation. Now that you've met the voices behind the characters, I thought that it would help some of you watching the audiobook version of this story to know some background about the setting, since it was written mainly for an audience who is familiar with the MMORPG MapleStory. If you have some more questions than I answer here, feel free to leave a question in the comments and I'll get to them as soon as I can. I may actually do something special once there are 40 coins in the vault, but we'll see. Now, let's get the major hurdle out of the way. What is MapleStory? Well, the official long title of it would be something like Fantasy-esque two-dimensional side-scrolling massive multiplayer online role-playing game. The short version? A fantasy-style RPG. In it, you can pick from many types of character classes, which are variations on 5 base classes: warriors, archers, sometimes called bowmen, thieves, which are more closely related to ninja, pirates, and mages. The main plot of this game centers mostly on a group of classes known interchangeably as adventurers or explorers, which are what all other class variations are based on. You as the player, represented in this story by the main character Yuki, train to become more powerful and stop the mysterious organization called the Black Wings, and prevent the rumored return of their master, the Black Mage. You do this by seeking out differing masters to progress through what is called job advancement. There are 5 of these in total. Each of these advancements unlocks new and more powerful abilities for your character to use. The first 4 of which are the standard for every character to go through, regardless of class, and is usually accompanied by a class-specific storyline, starting at level 10 and most of the time finishing at level 100. At level 200, there is a 5th and final, so far, job advancement, which is what is portrayed in the first 8 chapters of Arcane. The whole process is the same for every character, save maybe for differing dialogues, and is actually done by the character you are playing. I think the writer decided to give all the characters time in the spotlight, as it were, in visiting each goddess. Now, there is story that happens before the beginning of Arcane, and I will try to keep this summary as brief and informative as possible. If you play as one of these explorer classes, again represented by Yuki, you will meet your lifelong friends as you leave your home of Maple Island. Olive, Rondo, Tess, and Sugar, who is later revealed to be a human extension of the goddess of Maple World. During your adventures, you learn of a cult-like organization called the Black Wings, and it is up to you and your friends to find out what they want and stop them. As you progress, you find that these Black Wings' goal is the return of their master, the Black Mage. In continuing to try to foil their plans, you eventually find and come face to face with the Black Mage himself. You find that his seal is deteriorating, and take it upon yourself to restore it. Unfortunately, the Black Mage wakes up, still partially sealed, and breaks free before you have a chance to fully repower the seal. Through the combined effort, power, and will of you and your friends, you manage to prevent the Black Mage from destroying Maple Island, the place where all explorers start their journey. But the Black Mage wasn't defeated. He was merely guarded against, and still has plans to destroy the world. Why this is, I can't reveal yet since we are very early into the story, and it would spoil it for everyone waiting for more parts to come out. After this brush with death, you and your friends vow to become more powerful and defeat the Black Mage once and for all, and prevent the destruction of the world, which leads us to the beginning of Arcane. The next major hurdle that might need some explaining is the mention of the 3 Doors by Grendel the Really Old. The 3 Doors are located in a place called the Temple of Time, no relation to the Zelda one as far as I know. A level 160-ish location for characters to become more powerful. Each door corresponds to one of the 3 states of time: past, present, and future. The door to the past is where most of the creatures you must face are located. In the door to the future, another location is presented with even higher level monsters, but the story here is irrelevant to our current explanation. It is, however, the door to the present, a door said to never open for anyone that is the focus of our interest. This door leads to the highest level of locations and monsters on something called the Arcane River, which will be introduced when Arcane returns on September 6th. But the short version of this is that it is the path that will ultimately lead to the Black Mage himself. So that covers most of the basics as far as the main part of the game, but perhaps we should branch out a bit and explain some of the other characters in the story. Let's start with Aran, the proud warrior of rain wielding the powerful polearm Maha, one of 6 heroes that originally fought against the Black Mage. Something that old Maplers would know about is that Aran originally debuted as a male, with a female variant. But I think due to Mercedes, another of the heroes, being the only female of the group, and that people wanted more females in the Maple Heroes, Aran eventually was changed to the female standard with a male variant. In any case, a long time ago, Aran and 5 other heroes faced off against the Black Mage, Queen of the Elves Mercedes, the Phantom Thief, the Mage of Light Luminous, the Dragon Mage Freud, and the Brawler Shade. They banded together to stop the Black Mage from destroying the world in search of his true goal. What that is, you'll have to wait or read ahead, because again, spoilers. Ultimately, the Black Mage could only be sealed away to stop him, and in a final act before the seal took hold, he cursed all 6 heroes, encasing them in ice for at least 100 years, perhaps longer depending on the storyline you follow. After a long time, Aran was found by Lilin, the last person of her clan that believed and waited for the return of Aran. It was this same girl that would help Aran retrain after losing all her memories. At the point where Arcane begins, Aran has since come to terms with her place in this new world, despite not regaining all her memories, and very well may never regain them. But she does understand that the Black Mage must be stopped, and to that end has joined Yuki and his party. The next of our party members that might need some backstory explaining is Thier, otherwise known as the Angelic Buster. This plucky girl doesn't really have that good of a beginning. Thier is part of a race known as the Nova, a dragon-human hybrid race depicted as having a human body with the horns, wings, and tail of a dragon. She and most of her race escaped from their home planet of Helicium, which was taken by force by the insane warrior named Magnus. A little side note here is that the princess of the ruling family would escape Magnus's executions and become the class known as Kadena, a rogue underground smuggler using a spiked chain as a weapon. Back on track. When Thier was born, she was considered a failure or an oddity for being born without the ability to perform any kind of magic, something that every Nova had the innate ability for, and without a tail. These 2 traits often led to her being bullied by most, if not all, the Nova children, save for 2, Kyle and Velderoth. They often defended her, chasing off her would-be bullies and accepting her without reservation into what all 3 of them called the Helicium Force, dedicating themselves to one day take back their homeworld from Magnus. As the friends grew up, Kyle and Velderoth would often go out and fight off the forces of Magnus, who tried to break into the small outpost called Pantheon, where the Nova had escaped to. Often, Thier would be left behind as she was uncharacteristically weaker than her friends, but she was a stubborn girl, and did what she could to become stronger so that her friends wouldn't fight alone. It is also implied that during this time, Thier developed romantic feelings for Kyle, spurring her on to try harder to become stronger. Then one day, as the 3 of them were patrolling the edges of the barrier that protected Pantheon, they spotted priests and warriors of Magnus's forces trying to dismantle it. The barrier is powered by 3 ancient relics, and by removing only one of them, the barrier is weakened substantially. Thier insisted that the 3 of them could take on these invaders, but Kyle insisted they return to the main camp and call for backup. Reluctantly, Thier agreed, staying behind to watch in case anything happened. But Kyle and Velderoth took too long. The forces removed the relic and were about to leave. Thier decided to do something about it, trying to take the relic away, only to wake up in the infirmary. She was told that the relic had fused with her arm, and she had been cursed. At the same time, she also found out that Kyle was revealed to be the Kaiser, a powerful master guardian of the Nova people. Scared about her state, she vowed to run away, only to find that Escalade, an ancient dragon deity, lay dormant within the relic until now. He offered her his power, and Thier became the Angelic Buster, superheroine pop idol of Pantheon. Throughout her training to become more powerful, it is still hinted but never fully stated that Thier still harbors feelings for Kyle, but can't seem to fully accept it and reveal who she truly is, since Kyle seems to have a huge crush on her alter ego, the Angelic Buster. Though in the game, I am unsure if Kyle ever does truly find out who Thier really is. Between the start of her story and the beginning of Arcane, The author, Neo Spectre, has written a small fanfiction called Dragon Horns Are Pretty Dense, where most of our cast are relaxing for the anime Hot Springs episode. It is here where Thier and Kyle admit their feelings for one another, and that Thier reveals that she is the angelic buster. It is also in this short where the ghost incident mentioned in Arcane takes place. The link to this story is in the description below. Oh boy, this is getting longer than I wanted, but we'll see if we can fit everything in here. The hints about Xenon's past are in reality part of the character. As a child, he and Claudine were friends. After a day of playing, Xenon, Claudine, and the rest of the Resistance leaders, who were kids at the time, were heading home. But somewhere along the way, Xenon was snatched up by Gelimer, a mad scientist given funds and free reign to perform any kind of experiment he wanted to complete the ultimate human evolution. He would later die in the events of a standalone content called BLACKHEAVEN at the hand of his very own cyborg creations. But back to the beginning, Xenon was subjected to all manner of horrific experiments designed to rob Xenon of his humanity, making him a completely obedient machine bred for war. But thanks to his robotic companion, Rue D, and a chance encounter with Claudine, who was captured after an attack on Gelimer's base, he overrode his mechanical limiters and managed to regain a small part of his humanity. After which, he helped and was helped by Claudine to escape. But because his mechanical components would lead Gelimer and his sister, Beryl, to him, he reasoned that he would have to leave the Resistance and his childhood friend once more, to get stronger on his own. It is hinted that there is a love triangle happening between Xenon, Claudine, and Neidhart, but it is never fully explored. Continuing on the Resistance train, that brings us to Lyuva. She represents what is called an Edelstein citizen for the Resistance group of classes. She also represents the player if you were to choose said set of character type classes. She comes from the mining city of Edelstein, which was taken over by the Black Wings to harvest the rich deposits of Rue ore. One day as kids, she and 5 of her friends were playing hide-and-go-seek among the rubble from the mines. Lyuva is able to find 4 of them easily, but can't find the 5th. While looking for that 5th friend, she stumbles upon one of Gelimer's many laboratories, and meets Vita, a very weak test subject. Lyuva rescues said girl, but both need rescuing themselves when they are discovered. A mysterious man helps them out, and leaves an ominous clue for Lyuva to follow. This leads her to ultimately finding the Resistance, where she becomes the Blaster, a warrior-based class that uses mechanical, bullet-powered gauntlets for attacking. Over time, Lyuva befriends Vita, who wants to help, but ultimately learns that all her knowledge is really a plant by Gelimer to destroy the Resistance from the inside out. It is later found that Vita has been conditioned to subconsciously follow Gelimer's orders and ends up going back to him. Lyuva stages a rescue, but when she finds Vita, she is locked in a sturdy cage with a massive bomb counting down to detonation. Vita reveals that she has a Return to Town scroll with her, something that she picked up during her time with the Resistance. Lyuva insists she use it to save herself, but the scroll will only transport 1. Despite Lyuva's protests, Vita uses the scroll on Lyuva and sends her away just before the bomb goes off. Lyuva uses the rage she feels in losing her friend in such a way to drive her on and wipe out not only the Black Wings, but the Black Mage as well. And finally we come to Hayato, the oddball of the entire party. He is supposed to be a real-world samurai that was transported to Maple World when he tried to stop a ritual being performed by the evil Lord Oda Nobunaga. After being transported, the energy of the world drained him of all his power, and so he adventured through Maple World to regain his strength and stop Oda from corrupting another world to obtain his goal, eternal life. I can only assume that he was successful and decided to remain in Maple World, because I personally have never completed the storyline for the class. But it does look interesting, and when I find the time, I should be able to complete the story and know exactly what happens. As far as side characters mentioned, 2 come to mind that might be useful to know about. The first of which is Damien, mentioned by Ron in Chapter 7. Damien is one of the high-level boss monsters in MapleStory, and is the younger brother to the class Demon Slayer and its variant, the Demon Avenger. When the Black Mage betrayed the Demon Slayer, wiping out his hometown after telling him it would be spared, the Slayer believed both his human mother and his younger brother perished. However, Damien survived and was given immense power by the Black Mage to seriously inhibit the World Tree, in exchange for his mother, who was protected by a mage named Arcarium. Damien did as he was instructed, but Arcarium lied, and Damien was unable to keep his power in check. Aran was one of the people battling this crazed man, but ultimately, Damien was killed by his own older brother, the Demon Slayer, and was finally stopped. The World Tree, on the other hand, is a bit of a tricky one to put a finger on. If I remember right, this entity has two forms. The first being that of an absolutely gargantuan maple tree, which allows life to exist in Maple World. The second is kind of an avatar of the tree itself, a girl named either Alice or Alicia, depending on the version of MapleStory being played, I guess. Yes, there are different versions, but it's more about region in the world than anything. The world tree was seriously corrupted by Damien, nearly wiping out all life in Maple World, but after his defeat, Alice gave up her existence to revitalize the tree and ensure that life would continue in the Maple World. Then there's the amnesiac temple keeper, mentioned in Chapter 8. This strange person is said to be an exact twin to our main character Yuki, and while I can't reveal everything yet, you first meet him wandering the Temple of Time. As far as I know, he only appears when playing an explorer-type character. He has lost all his memories and keeps his face hidden for quite a while after you find him. You try to help him regain even a glimmer of his memories, but the only thing he does remember is his name, Keo. It is then that he reveals his face, which is exactly like your character if you are playing an explorer-type character. I could be wrong on this one, as I haven't gotten to that point in the game with any other class yet. And perhaps last but not least is the curse placed upon Shade mentioned in Chapter 8 by Iran. To begin with, Shade is not his real name, but was given to him by a young fox girl named Moonbeam when he couldn't remember it. Now, Shade was one of the original heroes that fought the Black Mage, but the spell that would seal the Black Mage away required a massive sacrifice in order to work. Shade was the one to step up and make that sacrifice, his life. As the mage was being sealed, he cursed Shade to be erased from all existence, including the minds of his friends and history itself, as if he was never born. Many years later, he awoke on the planet Vulpes, surrounded by a tribe known as the Pointy-Ear Foxes. The curse manifests further by erasing the memory of anyone Shade meets every time he crosses dimensions or goes through a major portal between worlds, a common occurrence within the MapleStory universe. Well, that's all I can think of for now that you need to know. And before I go, I thought I'd give a warm welcome to all the newest coins in the vault. If you wish to become a coin in my vault, just hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be aware of all the stuff I upload. Don't forget to also check out all the voice actors' pages and their projects, as well as my own personal story, MapleStory the Novel. It is an alternate universe look at the MapleStory story. Once there are 40 coins in the vault, I'll come up with something special for all of you, perhaps even a chapter from your favorite story or fanfiction, but we'll see. So until next time, my friends.